here at today's HR Business Services Committee meeting, getting started at 4:38 today on Tuesday, April 9th. We have no guest presentations for this report, so we'll start out with our departmental reports with Human Resources. And for our staffing updates this month, we had 20 new non-certified hires and 5 new certified hires. So we far outnumbered our hires this month between our retirements, resignations, and leaves of absence, so that's great news. The Human Resource Department has been busy. They've attended several different career fairs, one particular in the Minnesota Education Career Fair in Shakopee. We saw the Duluth Public Schools receiving 10 to 15 applicants interested in working for us in fall of 2024. Those teacher licensures included social studies, ELA, music band, math, STEM, art, elementary education. So those are some great prospective employees for us. We've also had human resources staff booths at both the Denfeld Career Fair and then also the East Career Fair, and also the Spring Career Fair sponsored by the Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training, Arrowhead Economic Opportunity Agency, Career Force, and Black Bear Casino, where we will be focusing on promoting our non-certified staffing positions, like those positions in nutrition, transportation, facilities, and paraprofessionals. Let's see what else. So that is what we have going on HR. For our benefits update, we'll have open enrollment. That's going to run April 29th through May 10th, and that's for health insurance only to begin in July 1st, 2024. Of note, the human resources staff met with the PEIP representative to review our next year rates, and our rate increase went up slightly, but with a rate increase of 4.68, and I would call that a pretty decent rate increase. That doesn't seem too bad. So we're pretty excited about that. We're also working on a wellness fair for our employees as well. As far as our contract negotiations, last month we settled with our Duluth Federation of Teachers. We still are in active negotiations with our Education Directors Association, and we have contracts still waiting to start processing for July 1st, 2023 with our clerical units and our district-wide Instructional Administrator Association, and also our National Conference of Firemen and Oilers. That contract will begin in early May, and their contract doesn't expire until this July. They are our one-off, aren't they? The boilers, I think? Yep, they're one-off. Do we have any questions for our human resource report?
Just a comment, and I know it's a placeholder on the agenda, but we're also working on our contracts for our individual contracts for our senior leaders. With our senior leader contracts, we are looking at those too, and we're also having a salary study done so that we can look at comparisons to other districts, so it's not just a random assessment. And I was going to share more information with individual board members with our upcoming budget meetings that are set. Figured that would be a good opportunity for sharing then, and hopefully we'll be able to have things negotiated for the board meeting. Our senior leadership team is, it's kind of weird talking about them with two of them right next to us, but those that they're doing an excellent job, and I think it's important for us to consider what their rate of pay is, and also think about retention, but also as we think about making sure that we're able to recruit in the future as we have those needs, that we think about those salaries as well.
And I would just add that trying to replace positions at the level like for a assistant superintendent, for a financial officer for this district would be a very expensive endeavor. So it does better to keep the individuals we have than to go out and find new ones.
Yeah. And I was just going to say that I really appreciated HR Director Severance's presentation at the Committee of the Whole. I think it was last week, April 2nd. Just for those listening or who didn't get to see it, I'd recommend watching it because she did a good job going over the staffing processes and the hiring timelines. I thought it was worth noting just that we're really doing a good job with our efficiencies, getting jobs posted, hiring faster, which is really good for our staff, our teachers, our families, and our students. So.
Mr. Bonds, would you like to quickly go over the job descriptions? Excuse me, since we're in our HR time, would you like to just talk about those four job descriptions we'll have on the consent agenda?
Yes, let's start off with the first one, which is the Reading and Language Arts Coordinator position. This is a new position. This is a position that is also required now as a result of the READ Act passing legislation. Districts are required to have a lead literacy person for the district. So this is a new position that will oversee not only everything related to the READ Act, but also ELA, as you see in here. It also will support the individual who oversees our ELL, English language learners. We don't have any real direct supervision of that work, and so this gives us an opportunity to ensure that that support is provided to our ELL learners. And I anticipate as a district, our ELL population will continue to grow over the next decade here. So we are really excited about this position coming forward. Again, a new position. It is going to be funded out of the existing funds that we receive in the form of the reading incentive or literacy. Simone, what's the specific name for that one?
Incentive aid.
Yeah, the literacy incentive aid is the resources that we will be using to support that program. And that's exactly what the state intended us to use those resources for.
Okay, so this literacy incentive aid, that's essentially the funding that the state put behind when they enacted the READ Act, correct? Okay.
It's more accurate to say they have been providing that resource to us for a long time.
Oh, okay.
So districts have been receiving literacy funds for quite some time. They are now saying that districts must use these funds to support this new position that is now required by state statute.
Okay.
Were we doing some lobbying or, just some education down at the Capitol? That's ringing a bell because since we have been using those funds for a long time, now they're saying we have to use it for that, but that leaves a gap, right? Which is part of our broader budget discussions.
Correct. The district gets X amount for that literacy incentive aid, but as of July 1, they want us to start using it for the READ Act. But that leaves a significant portion of our general ed budget now that we need to hopefully get financed for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then the other three, the Director of Continuous Improvement Support, Ojibwe Language and Culture Coordinator, and the Professional Development Coordinator, those are retooling of job descriptions?
That is correct.
Okay.
Let me be clear. I want to go back. The two that's a retooling of existing jobs, the Director of Continuous Improvement, there is a transition that's occurring in that current directorship. So this is a new job description that has additional responsibilities that we want to make sure that this new job description has. So it is an existing FTE for the district, so there's no additional funding needed to support this position. And the second one is our Professional Development Coordinator position. It is a new job description that now will also be part of the DWIA unit. It was a teacher on special assignment, but because of the nature of the work that needs to happen in our professional development for our teachers, especially given the fact that now we have greater expectations and we have professional development days that have been embedded in our calendar moving forward. There's a significant need for coordination of professional development, not only for our teachers, but also this role will also support training efforts for other department leaders as well. That includes transportation, our HR department, with onboarding efforts and offboarding efforts. So it has a greater scope of responsibilities as well. So this has moved from a TOSA position to now a DWIA position. And the one that is new, that is currently unfilled, but the FTE has been provided for quite some time or available for quite some time, is the Ojibwe Language and Culture Coordinator position. FTE has been available for the last few years to support the position. Unfortunately, because of the needing someone who is native speaking and has the skills and skills and experience to support that kind of position. It has gone unfilled for several years. So this position now, we're really excited about this one because it's a position now that is not only going to support the Ojibwe language and culture, but it also now is really going to take a significant step forward to the district's commitment to supporting American Indian students and communities, especially the language. So now this individual is going to be responsible for pre-K-12 for all coordination efforts related to the Ojibwe language. That includes the Masabakong program that is in our elementary school, Lowell, including any transition from 5th grade to 6th grade and throughout. And this position will also support our 2 Ojibwe language teachers in our secondary sites. Again, so we're really excited that this position will now assist the district in really coordinating efforts and moving forward the Ojibwe language, and is also not only something that we desire, but also it came out as a recommendation for our American Indian Parent Advisory Group. So APAC also suggested that we also provide such a position to do that coordination. So this not only meets these that we had already strived to fulfill, but it also fulfills one of the things that was recommended as part of the vote of non-concurrence by our parent advisory. So again, we're really excited about this position.
And what is the title of the position again?
Ojibwe Language and Culture Coordinator.
Okay, thank you.
Ojibwe Language and Culture Coordinator.
All right, and then the last information that we have that from the HR, from the Human Resources Department that will go on the consent agenda is the staffing report, and that can be found on page 20. All right, so now we can move on to business services where we can take a peek at our enrollment report. And our enrollment is sitting again around 8,000 students, 8,012 students. And then again, just as I always have to say it, we budgeted for around 79. We came in at around 800, we came around about 8,000. As we look forward to the next year and we're building our budget for the next year, we have forecasted that we will have a decline in student numbers again of about 100 students. Yep, so that is our enrollment report. Do we have any questions on enrollment?
So are we going to budget for 70, like, what are we going to budget for? Is it going to be the same as last year? Or since we had an extra 100, will it stay the same or will it decline 200? If it's
Great
100 a
question.
year.
So 100 last year and then 200 this year. So I'm actually going to add 75 in, which will still put us at a minus of 25
Okay.
for this year. Because FY '23, we've been getting some final numbers, and it ended up at 8,117. So I didn't want to go with the 100, so I thought for 1 year only, I was going to try and add 75 back in to offset the 100.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for asking. You remembered.
And as we build our budgets year over year, we look at the declining population of our student population as a demographic, not because we have students leaving the district, but because of what's happened demographically in our communities. So I just want to be very, very clear about that, is that when you look at the demographic trend of Duluth and the areas, you can see Duluth is shrinking, or not shrinking, but declining, yeah. So that is our enrollment report. Moving on to our child nutrition, you can see that we are feeding a ton of students breakfast and lunch because of the state's program, and we have no other interesting tidbits about a milk bid or a pizza bid, just kind of a boring child nutrition report this month. So moving on from our child nutrition report for our facilities and management, as usual, our facilities maintenance crew are completing a tremendous number of work orders and keeping on top of everything. We have some capital and construction work going on. Smith, Bell, and Clock will install our new hands and gearing for the Denfeld clock on April 11th. We've been working through our Duluth News Tribune building. Schematic design is complete. We're holding off on our mechanical and electrical projects as of now because we need to get our timeline and our phasing to look more realistic to reflect how long that project is going to take to complete. We'll be looking at getting Homecroft parking lot done. Lowell is having some work done. And thankfully, materials have begun to arrive for the pool renovation at Lincoln. And we're also expanding our transportation building. And that project scope and timeline discussion, we've approved, I think, that bid last month for Design Tree. We've had some legal representation discussions. We had a truck back into Lowell, so we're working on that right now. And then also getting the date set for closing of the Garfield building. And I just wanted to take of note, the last week in March is National Cleaning Week, so we wanted to take some time and thank all of our wonderful staff who keep our buildings safe and clean for our students. Do we have any questions for our facilities departmental report? Great. Now we will move on to technology. And Bart, I see our numbers for phishing just look tremendous this month. So I'll turn it over to you.
Sure, actually, those numbers went up a little bit because people are still being phished from the March phishing campaign. So it's 23.75. And then our overall phish rate since 2022 is 71.26, which those numbers are not good. Then I didn't add, but I did look today for our training. Our training rate was 27.16 for our staff. And the average for this service, industry average is 70. So 70% people who get the phishing email and fall for it actually do the training, and we're at 27%. So we're going to have a lot of people being phished and a lot of people not following through or looking at that. So yes, we do. Yep. So we also learned that 6.14 of our staff entered credentials during last month's phishing campaign. So they're giving up their usernames and passwords for that. So those are all alarming.
Please share the length of time it would take to complete that training. How extensive is that training that an individual would have to take if they are unsuccessfully phished?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Just a question, thinking about our May 14th referendum, will there be additional training if the May 14th referendum passes?
Yeah, we have additional training available, and I know that's one of the things Peter and I are working on for our additional staff development days. So they'll have it more often throughout the year, so they are being exposed to it.
Thank you. I also want to say thanks to you and Peter Peter Graves for the extensive amount of support you've given in trying to make sure the community is really well informed. You've been at nearly every meeting, and you've whether it's early in the morning or late at night, and you've been sharing, and I think your voices have been very important in helping get the information out to the public so that they can make a decision about that May 14th referendum.
Okay, thank you. The next one is our Google security emails. 1.4 million email messages accepted, delivered. What we have in front of our Google even is we have Zix email security systems. We have it externally going outbound, as well as inbound. We just added that several months ago. So that is also catching spam or phishing emails. So we have 2 systems trying to catch it for our users. The downside of that, is it catches some legitimate emails that we have to go in and manually, say, oh, this one's fine, this one's fine. So, so those numbers overall are down because of the Zix email security in front of it. Our counts are up a little bit, our storage is up. The rest of the stuff is, pretty much staying the same a little bit, changes. We had 72 data loss prevention, DLP policies well, were blocked, which is good. For E-rate and bids, we don't have anything going out right now. We will be going out in the next 2 months for our internet services as well as our wide area network. It's attached to E-rate, so I have to wait till when the filing window opens up, and then we can get that posted. I'll be working with Kathy to get that posted. Let's see, for the summer projects, the Bloom team is actually, this is from the 23 summer projects. Bloom team will be on site next week. They have one, actually it's this week, they have one audio enhancement system installed at Lester Park in room 218. They just missed it. They didn't see that room for some reason. And then towards the end of this month, CDWG will be on site with their team to finish up the boardroom. So they're going to put a fourth camera back here, so we'll get a front view of the board. Yes, well needed. And they're going to replace the virtual controlling system that they have in here with actually hardware. So hopefully that'll eliminate all the glitches we've been having. So, and the next one is just Google carbon footprint. That's always interesting to see that actually our footprint came down in February. It's always another month behind as opposed to January's for some reason. So.
I just have one quick question.
Go for it.
So when it comes to the phishing email, like the education that comes, the training, is there a way, is there a setting, or maybe our May 14th referendum will help pay for it too, but like getting out, like if I'm sent that training, it might get buried in my email. Like it happens to the best of us, right? How many times, if I get phished, let's say by the district, how many times am I going to be sent that training? Can we send it out more than once? Can we send it out till they take it?
I
keep
can take a
pestering
look at that. I know if you do get phished, it happens right there to take it, a short blurb of, here's the training on it. But I know that sits in their queue if they were ever to log in to InfoSec. Sits in the queue saying, hey, here's the training left to do. But I know a lot of people have identified that as phishing as well. They miss the phishing email, the training exercise, and then it's like, this is suspicious here. So they haven't been, they've been unsure of that, which is still an okay thing. So I think we need to do a better job with saying this is the legitimate training and these other ones may not be.
Maybe if people are identified more than once for phishing, that might be something we could identify and let supervisors know, not from a gotcha standpoint, but from a supportive, hey, I saw this happen a couple of times. Could you please do the training?
Yeah.
Thanks for all your work on it, and I was just thinking of it from something we all do. Emails get buried, so thanks for sharing how that works.
All right, so we have no questions, or we had our questions answered. All right, so now on to transportation. Staffing is challenging for us. We're short 2 helpers and short on drivers. Our assistant manager has been subbing in on our routes, and now we have another individual license. So he's training and subbing, and that's helping quite a bit too. So that is our transportation report.
May I add something?
Yes.
I just want to bring it up again that next month we'll be bringing to you the Voyager bus contract. Bus contracts generally go for 10 years. It expires on June 30th. We will also be posting it in the paper for 30 days. With a contract that size, we will be following our attorney's recommendations on how to do that properly and legally.
That's a good heads up. So as we move into our recommended resolutions, we have our acceptance of donations from the Duluth Public Schools. You can see we have many different donations. We also have a change for our authorized bank account signature. Simone, could you talk a little bit about this one?
Sure. Lauren Balmer is now new to the finance department. She was in the position in community ed. Her replacement is Cameron Jokey. So we're just removing Lauren and adding Cameron to the account.
Perfect. And then lastly, we have acceptance of grants awards to the Duluth Public Schools, and this is kind of an exciting one, the Safe Route to Schools Coordinator. We have that one, that grant is listed twice this month where we have it as grant applications and grant accepted, so we're excited about that, that position. And does anybody want to talk a little bit about what that position is going to do?
I'll share a little bit. Safe Routes to School, the Safe Routes to School program has been around for quite a while. It's a program that's designed to work with the city and other organizations to determine the best path for students to navigate back and forth from school, encouraging walking and bike riding, but making sure that the street and the systems are in place to ensure students do that safely. So the coordinator's role will be to work with the entire district to determine which projects we want to take on that would further increase safe routes for students.
Is this a new position for us?
It will be a new position.
New position,
Yep.
okay.
That's
And
gonna
it's
be
grant funded?
fully funded by the grant. That's
Yep.
correct.
And then, perfect. All right. Where am I at? Okay. So we went through all of the details on the consent agenda for the HR, for the staffing. Now we move on to our finances on page 39, and this is just our updated where our books look for this month. And Executive Director Zunich, is there anything of note in our financial report this month?
Nothing other than we are, payroll has started to do any retro pays, so we'll be starting to see an increase in our general fund for that. We're watching, I'm working closely with Finance Manager Sheila on our cash flow because we are having some increased expenses. And so we're watching that carefully. We are doing 2-year cash flow projections with PMA, our financial advisors. And I'm making sure we're getting in our, what we call draws from any expenses that is used for this building. We have money in those funds. Once we get our expenses, we expend the money, and then we ask for the money put into our checking account from those bonds. It's called the draw. And we'll be working closely too with our ESSER funds to make sure those draws are done, to make sure our cash flow is staying healthy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's kind of important, right? I love it. Do we have any questions? Good, cash flow, good. Okay. Moving on to our fundraisers, you can see there's various different fundraisers. The debate team, Denfeld softball and baseball, school-wide mental health teams at Denfeld, senior class for graduation at Denfeld. East has some stuff for their debate team, their girls tennis team. ECFE is trying to get some t-shirts out into the world, and then Ordine East had a scholastic book fair going for the library. So those are our fundraisers.
May I add something here as well?
Yes.
Sheila has been working closely, and I've attended some of the meetings as well, with our athletic directors and their administrative support to really establish our booster club guidelines and making sure that everyone's on the same page. We had a great meeting with at least 10 of us in the room to make sure both schools, both East and Denfeld, are doing it the same way, essentially, because we have found that sometimes one site does it differently. And so that was an excellent meeting. We came out of that with, I think we all felt better for it. And then we will also be having a meeting in May with the 2 administrative assistants from both high schools. Will be initiating a meeting, and also with the ADs, and Sheila and I will attend with booster clubs to answer any questions and to go over the handout, that the school board approved. So we're really making an effort to follow through with those guidelines.
That's good, because I somehow found myself on the Denfeld Boys Hockey Booster Club, so I'll make sure to disseminate that information. And also to the Wolf Pack. I'm not, but it's interesting now that I move into that to see how the boosters work and to see all that. So I appreciate all that work. Okay. Moving on to bids, RFPs, and quotes. We have one for mold mitigation at Lowell Elementary. And then for this month, we have no contracts, change orders, or leases. We have, starting on page 2, quite a few expenditure contracts. I looked through this month. It seemed like we have a lot of expenditure contracts this month, but that's okay. Anything of note?
Yes, quite a few of these are the second, third, or fourth year of a contract. So initially, they were set up as a 4 or 5 year contract. But because we like to adhere to the fact that we don't just do a 5-year contract, we ask them to resubmit that every year on July 1. So that's what you're seeing there. These would be the second or third year or whatever for a contract.
Okay. And then we have, on page 108, we have a no-cost contract with the University of Minnesota at Duluth. This contracted services will happen at Denfeld, and it's faculty from the University of Minnesota at Duluth Department of Education that are going to be looking at focus groups hosted on-site at Denfeld High School. We had no revenue contracts this month, and then moving on to page 116, to look at our grant applications. We had various grant applications this month, and you can look at those. And then lastly, we have our FY25 experience modification factor rating, and I will turn this over to you.
So we're very pleased and very excited. So I asked Brett to put in the FY24 and the 25. You see our mod rating was a .78. It's in the first sentence of the first paragraph. And in 25, it went down to a .68. So that means our workman's comp claims have reduced, and the staff is being very careful. So it's gotten better, and that will help with our insurance rates and et cetera. So we should be having that insurance meeting, I think, next month.
Great.
Yeah.
That's good news. All right, does anybody have any questions? Oh, yeah, there one. There. All right, I think that's everything for this month, and we are done at 5:10. Perfect. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.